Jesus instructed them to take nothing for the journey but a walking stick. But a walking stick. I read an article this week about a man who was boarding a train from New York City to Washington, D.C. And he said he had a very difficult week. And he said to the porter, he said, please, he gave him $20, please wake me up when we get to Washington, D.C. He said, don't worry about what I say. Sometimes when I wake up, he said, I say some offensive things. He said, don't worry about it. He said, just make sure I'm off the train in Washington. Man said, fine. He woke up several hours later in Richmond, Virginia. And he was furious. He starts yelling at the porter, and the train conductor heard the commotion and pulled the porter to the other side of the other side of the train. And he said, what the heck's going on? He said, I've never seen anyone so mad. The porter replied, you should have seen the fellow I put off in Washington. Sorry, my friends, but I was reading on a journey and I thought, I have to share that because it's beautiful and wonderful. But in any way, my friends, take nothing for the journey but a walking stick. A walking stick. Back then, walking sticks were used just to help support when you're traveling. A lot of it was done by walking. Also, it was a little bit of protection to ward off anyone that was trying to attack them or animals or things of that nature. But it was also something that represented something. Like all the prophets, Moses always had a staff. Always had a staff. And all the prophets. And it was much more than a walking stick. It reminded Moses of who he was and what was important. My friends, we think food's important, belonging's important, money's important. And they are. And they are. But Jesus is saying, look, take a walking stick. A walking stick. What does he mean by that? He's talking about a reference to our faith, my friends. We put so much emphasis in our lives, don't we? What to eat, what to wear, I'm the same. And we collect all sorts of things. Put in our sack, don't we? And Jesus says, what about your staff? What about your walking stick? Where's your faith? Where is that in your life? Where is it? There's two rivers that are very long rivers in Europe, and they kind of start out at the Switzerland area, so they both start out very, very clean. They're pronounced in different languages as they go through different countries, but R and Rhone is really the A-U-R-E and R-O-A-N, and they change names as they go through different countries. But at one point, the one river remains clear, but the other one ends up going through this little channel area and it becomes very, very muddy. And then miles down past that, they merge. And when they merge, you have this one muddy river and this beautiful clear river, and then they merge, and then they become one color. Which is what color you think they become? Yeah, muddy. Muddy. And the article was just saying that, we don't want it to happen. We don't want to lose our values. We don't want to lose our principles. We want to be different than people in the world. But our faith isn't important because we're not carrying our walking stick. So we end up just acting just like, talking just like, thinking just like those who practice no faith. And that's tragic. And that's why Jesus is saying, look, carry that walking stick. Because you need to act, think in a different way. And today, my friends, there's very little difference between how a Christian acts and how a non-Christian acts. And how sad that is. Because we forgot that we needed a walking stick. On top of that, we lose value of something. When Alexander the Great took over the Persian Empire, they raided, and he told his soldiers, if you find anything of value, you can take it. They stormed the palace of King Darius, and one of the soldiers found one of these. It's got a little decorative pouch about this big, and in this pouch was filled with some of the jewels for the palace. But he was more enthralled by this bag that he had, and he dumped the jewels out, and he was running around showing all the other soldiers what a fancy new food bag that he had. And this is what the article said. We find value where we are trained to find it. The soldier spent much of his time searching for his next meal. He probably never even seen precious jewels before. Then he saw something that he wanted, something in which to store his food, something which had absolutely no value. My friends, this is great value here because we receive someone that helps us on this journey of faith. We receive someone, and we forget that because we don't carry our staff. It's not important. It's not important, and we lose what's of great value. And so today, my friends, all of us need to ponder about that. We have many, many priorities in our life. Our faith needs to be one of those. Our faith needs to be one of those. It can do so much on this journey of life. God bless.